Schools need the guidance of an evidence-based approach to effectively support challenging behaviour. Positive behaviour support, also known as PBS, is an approach that informs all aspects of behaviour management within schools. This is an evidence-based approach informed by applied behavioural analysis and principles of positive psychology. Recommended by the State Government of Victoria and applied in a number of Victorian schools, PBS has become widely adopted in recent years. Ultimately, the approach is all about proactive reinforcement to teach, model, and praise positive behaviours on a regular basis. This is in contrast to traditional methods of reactive punishment triggered by misbehaviours. PBS aims to understand the causes of a student's behaviour and provide positive alternatives to achieve an improved quality of life for the student. The functions of support are structured into 3 tiers based on severity of need. Tier 1 reaches students school-wide, including a policy to clearly outline expected behaviours, including consistent, frequent and specific praise of expected behaviours inside and outside the classroom. It includes corrective feedback, where teachers clearly and calmly state the expected behaviours. It includes explicit teaching of expected behaviours, and it includes school-wide procedures to manage incidents consistently. Tier 2 reaches students with more specific needs and can include targeted social skills instruction and an individual behaviour plan. Tier 3 is situation-specific for major incidents or behaviours. It includes a functional behaviour assessment and development of an individual behaviour plan, including engaging the school leadership team, the principal and the wellbeing staff, and engaging a team of health professionals. Our Grade 3 class is within a public school located on the Mornington Peninsula. The group has a range of diverse needs, and to demonstrate, I will describe the specific needs of a few students from the group. To attain this information prior to classes commencing, it is appropriate to engage parents or carers regarding their child's learning and wellbeing needs. Our first student, Jamie, has a challenging home life. Jamie has transitioned through numerous foster homes in recent years and so has lacked stability. Jamie may not feel settled and may be unaware of school-wide and classroom expectations. Dylan also arrives new to the school. Dylan may display challenging behaviour in the classroom, seeking attention from peers in inappropriate ways, and may be unaware of classroom expectations. Avalon has autism spectrum disorder, often speaking out of turn with inappropriate volume of voice. Avalon may become animated and distract classmates with inappropriate behaviour during class time. Ellie is hard of hearing. She has a hearing aid device. Ellie may struggle if the teacher does not make their voice clearly audible and if the classroom environment is not conducive to learning. All students need to have a safe and calm learning environment that is conducive to learning. Common needs of all students are to feel safe and comfortable in the classroom, to have access to a calm, quiet and predictable classroom environment, and to have positive relationships with their peers and teachers. Individual student needs in our class group include Jamie, needing to find a way to feel settled in his new classroom. Jamie needs to be praised for completing basic classroom activities that are expected as standard of his peers. Dylan needs to understand that expectations followed by his classmates also apply to him. Dylan needs carefully implemented praise and corrective feedback to ensure that inappropriate behaviours are not rewarded with attention. Avalon needs to understand that classroom expectations can specifically relate to use of voice tone, volume, and turn-taking, such as raising a hand to speak. Explicit teaching of appropriate use of voice may help Avalon. Ellie needs her classmates to follow the classroom expectations, particularly regarding noise levels, so that she is able to participate effectively. Ongoing praise of appropriate behaviours may help maintain a quiet and orderly classroom environment for Ellie.
Positive behavior management strategies highlight the importance of creating an environment where students are rewarded for their positive behavior rather than disciplined. This multi tiered approach ultimately aims to develop a conducive learning environment which holistically caters for students in not only a school wide sense but also students with specific and situational needs. It is also important to acknowledge the link between students' personal learning needs and participation and engagement within classroom activities. If an individual learning needs are not supported by their educator, students may feel a lack of support or trust for their environment and potentially their teacher. Using a teaching strategy such as PBS negates those feelings and ultimately empowers students to feel a sense of purpose and confidence, leading to higher participation and classroom engagement. PBS offers students the necessary consistency they need to develop an understanding of reactions to their behaviors and consequences if they do not meet their individual expectations. This helps generate a respectful learning environment where students feel safe and supported. When looking at PBS through the lens of a school-wide approach, it is evident that this strategy is proactive in nature, focusing on reduction and prevention of problem behaviours with the aim of enhancing all students' educational experience. Through reinforcing positive behaviours and offering support and guidance to struggling students, negative and disruptive behaviour are minimised. Through the reward and celebration of positive behaviours, students gain an understanding of the expectations and role model behaviours, which encourages them to engage and adapt the positive behaviour mindset. PBS is effective in relieving stress and improving student attitudes and behaviours. This in turn helps create a harmonious classroom. Furthermore, this generates spare time for the educator to interact and empower their students and ensure they are actively engaging and participating within their lessons, reaching their full academic as well as social and emotional potential. The Victorian State Government have identified multiple effective aspects that have been positively increased due to BPS. These include positive and respectful behaviour between students and staff, an improvement of social emotional well-being, further use of evidence-based instructional practice, and an understanding of the learning environment for the educator, allowing them to develop a predictable and safe learning environment for students. For inclusive education to be effective, students cannot be judged and assessed based on one standard goal or achievement rate. Each student has individual needs, attitudes, beliefs, and intellectual capabilities, and these need to be taken into account throughout assessment. Students should be striving for an individual learning goal that caters for their personal capability. This goal needs to take into account all aspects of a student's life that may have any sort of impact on their overall educational opportunities. Students need to be rewarded on individual successes rather than a broad benchmark which does not account for specific needs. Positive behaviour strategy sets the goal of creating quality learning environments. To create such a learning environment, students of different ability levels, background, SES status, cultural background, and students with additional needs are nurtured, leading to a sense of support and opportunity to thrive. PBS is effective for a wide range of learners as the strategies are broad and not specific to certain students. PBS focuses on providing praise and feedback to individual students when success is noticed. This feedback is personal to them and reinforces the positive and appropriate behavior they are demonstrating. This strategy is effective as it uses differentiation for each student as the reward and is applied on an individual basis. Students feel a sense of purpose and equality within the classroom as their individual learning and behavioral achievements are rewarded and acknowledged. It is imperative that students are provided a safe environment which supports their learning and their individual goals. These goals need to be specific to each student and their individual needs and capabilities. This ensures students are not discriminated against in any way that could be harmful to their social emotional development and their educational outcomes. Students' individual milestones need to be celebrated to reward their achievement, which will encourage and reinforce the positive behaviour.
There's heaps of information in literature and online about the theory and procedure of positive behaviour support. So rather than recycle what is readily available, we have decided to create a lesson plan showcasing what PBS may look like in an actual classroom setting. This lesson plan is intended to be used as a first day of school lesson to teach our hypothetical grade 3 class the school expectations in line with the PBS model. It could also be easily adapted for any grade level. For this lesson plan, the curriculum links reflect the Victorian curriculum personal and social capabilities for levels 3 and 4, but this can be adjusted to meet the capabilities of any year level. What this changes is how deep you will take the children in a discussion. For example, in years 1 and 2, one of the personal and social capabilities is identifying your emotions. The level 3 and 4 equivalent is identifying how the expression of your emotions can impact on others. These capabilities should guide your questioning and are a great foundation to assist in implementing the PBS model. Prior to the first lesson of the year, it is imperative that you obtain all available relevant information from previous teachers, parents and carers, and, where appropriate, health professionals. Being the first lesson of the year, you will likely not yet know your students, and so any information you can gather about them will assist you in planning for the most effective and efficient lesson. Information such as identified additional needs, parenting or carer arrangements, and cultural background for EAL students are all relevant. The classroom environment also needs to be primed for your students. Depending on their needs and preferences, you must consider how the tables should be arranged within the classroom space, as well as where students need to be situated in relation to each other. In our classroom, Avalon, who is on the spectrum, often speaks out of turn and struggles to control their volume. We would seat Avalon near the front of the room and close to the teacher, so that they could constantly regulate Avalon's behaviour and give immediate praise for doing the right thing. Ellie is hard of hearing and wears a hearing aid, and so also needs to be close to the front of the room, yet away from a student such as Avalon, who would make too much noise for Ellie to be able to hear over. Due to this, we would place Ellie close to the front of the room, but on the opposite side from Avalon, minimising interference, yet still allowing for Ellie to hear and see the teacher. You must also make sure all of the signage within your classroom is readable by your students. For Ellie, it would be beneficial to have Auslan accompanying the signs within the classroom, just to provide that extra bridge for her. The idea of preparing your classroom for your lesson fits within the PBS model in the sense that it optimises the opportunity for learning of all students in order to prevent unnecessary escalation of the PBS model. So, priming the classroom will hopefully prevent or at least alleviate the need for Tier 2 intervention. So now it's time to meet your students. Icebreaker games are great to help students shake the nerves of being in a new classroom. Use your limited knowledge of your students to inform your choice of game. In our classroom, we need a game that won't get too rowdy, as there are a couple of easily excitable students as well as a hard of hearing student. So we have chosen to go around in a circle and give your name and a body action, and then the class repeats the name and the action. A little bit of fun, but nothing that can get out of hand. Next, the core values must be explicitly taught. At Huntington Primary, our core values are respect, resilience, responsibility, and empathy. You would write these on the whiteboard and ask the class what they think each means, refining and elaborating their ideas as you go. An important part of this activity would be to ask students what these values might look like in context. So asking them, how could you show resilience? Students at level 3 should be past the defining stage and moving into the application of these core values. The next part of the lesson requires students to volunteer to act out given scenarios, showing students common responses to negative scenarios and asking them to supply better alternatives in line with the core values. Praising students for contributing good ideas is important. This will further develop their application of the core values and is also a good opportunity to talk to students about the emotions behind our actions. This moves students beyond right and wrong and allows them to understand that all emotions are okay, but what we do with those emotions are what defines us as people. As you will see on our lesson plan, the token system we have used is the beehive, where students can collect bee tokens and add to the class hive. Most schools that implement PBS will have their own system, whether it be a token system like the beehive or awards or certificates given out to individuals. Explaining these systems to the students is important as it gives them a motivator for enacting positive behaviour. The next activity requires collaboration. This is a great opportunity for the teacher to model how people should work together in groups, how to effectively share ideas, and the importance of listening to one another. In this activity, the students move beyond the school's core values and explore their own personal values. These are added to a list of class values and examples are given. This is an opportunity for each student to let their peers know this is what is important to me and this is how I like to be treated. As these values apply to the whole class, they are still Tier 1, but this list of class values will also be important when or if a time arises where Tier 2 interventions are required. Referring to the class values, students can have a specific value or set of values that they can actively work on. Finally, for assessment, each student will give an example of how they could enact the school or class values, and then they can go to recess. Here, less confident students have the opportunity to wait until the group is smaller before sharing, and it also gets students to think more about what the values mean so that they don't offer an example that has already been given.